My name is Stuart Cruz, and I founded Cruz Asset Management. And you probably are aware that there's a capital campaign going on for the Phi Gamma Delta House, the Fiji House at Northwestern. And so I wanted to address that if I could. I was the intramural chairman and pledge trainer, recording secretary, and treasurer at Fiji. And then after I graduated the house, I was on the BCA and the board of chapter advisors. I've been on the academic scholarship program that was founded by the late great Granger Cook, and also provided a variety of mentorship roles as well. And so we are facing a big challenge here at the house, and I'm sure you're aware that we're trying to raise $5 million, and we are quite a bit of the way there. But we still have about $1 million to raise at this point. And so I was trying to figure out what is a way that we could contribute, or that I could contribute to this campaign. Now, of course, I can write a check, which I have pledged to Frank Schmidt that I will do. But I also face some challenges. I don't know, like perhaps you face some challenges when you're writing a check to charities. There's a variety of great charities out there, from anything from cancer to educational to refugee programs, and my wife and I make a lot of joint decisions, and maybe it's very difficult for you to actually write a check, or maybe you don't have the funds to write a check. I don't know what your particular story was, but I sure know that for myself, when I was working as a postgraduate Fiji, where we all know college, Phi Gamma Delta is not for college days alone, that I put in a lot of time, and I was trying to figure out a way to contribute right now. So here we are trying to figure out a methodology. So we can write checks, and any little bit counts. So if you could write a check for, let's say, $5 or $10 a quarter or $10 a month or something like that over the next 5 years, that's going to add up to be quite a bit. But right now, how can we make a bigger impact? And I'm going to try and do this without having you write a check. And you can still get a tax write-off, and we can contribute a significant amount of money to the fraternity if we can all get together. Now, how am I able to do this? Well, let's see. So here's my story. I founded Cruz Asset Management, and we're at my offices right now, based on some principles that I thought Wall Street was probably not treating its clients in the best appropriate way. So I thought there's a better way to invest money. So I went out and sought a better way. And I did a lot of research, and we found that using math and statistics tends to outperform the traditional way of investing. And so that's what I did. About, I'd say 13 years ago, I did a tremendous amount of research, presented my findings to Bear Stearns Asset Management, and they let me run client dollars 12 years ago. Started trading client dollars 12 years ago in a strategy, large cap strategy called QVP. And this strategy has doubled the returns of the S&P during that same time frame without any additional risk. Now, how does that factor into any of this? So when I was looking around when I was doing my capital campaign and discussing this was, well, let me take you back. We went to a fundraising dinner not too long ago with Frank Schmitz and a variety of the brothers that are leading the charge for this capital campaign, without whom this would have never gotten off the ground. And I'm fully aware of how much time and preparation this takes, because once upon a time, I was facing this same thing as I was part of the board of chapter advisors, and we opted not to even participate. And this was 25 years ago, and the house was in shambles then. And now, 25 years later, it's a disaster. But here we go. Frank Schmitz and some of his cohorts were leading this charge and had put in big piles of money to get us at least half of the way there, or a significant of the way there, of this $5 million goal that we have. And in hearing this story, I realized that all these other brothers at the fraternity, or at the dinner, we were at Gibson's in Chicago, all these other fraternities at this dinner were talking about all their fraternal interactions and to help make their company or their success or the Fiji brothers were part of their success. And as it turned out, while I have worked with some of the brothers in the past, nobody was in my quantitative strategy. Now, keep in mind, this has doubled the S&P over the past 12 years. So all of my fraternity brothers have missed out on this amazing opportunity. And so in discussing this with some of the brothers, we were trying to reflect on how we could possibly work together in a win-win-win situation. So here we are. My proposition is we provide a strategy For our clients, I work with mostly high net worth clients, but not all. I work with some institutional, some high net worth clients, some family offices, and a variety of people. In some cases, I can charge performance-based pricing, which means if my strategy does well, outperforms the S&P 500, then I take a chunk of that outperformance. If my strategy does not do well, underperforms the S&P 500, then I don't take a performance fee at all. And moving forward, I have to make up the difference that I underperformed and that I don't charge a fee until I outperform again. Okay? So that can't be much more fair of a strategy. So what I was thinking was perhaps I can get some brothers involved in my strategy and we can work together and I can drive some of my performance-based fees, like half of them, to the Fiji capital campaign. So this is how it would work. So if I had a brother who was saving for retirement, doesn't feel like he could write a check, or maybe he had other causes that he was trying to participate in. Maybe somebody in his family had died of cancer, and that's a very personal subject to him. Maybe he's very focused on autism or Parkinson's because his parents or his grandparents suffered from that. These are all wonderful causes, of course. But perhaps there's a way that we can not take money from that pool of funds and then use a pool of funds that are already there, perhaps your retirement savings, and further your cause and contribute to the house at the same time. So this is how it worked. Let's say a brother had $100,000 invested in a large cap value strategy, a mutual fund perhaps, or some other strategy. Our strategy has beaten 99% of all those other managers. Now, if you don't have to take my word for it. This has been independently verified by Theta Research. We're happy to provide you with the link. You can go to thetaresearch.com, I believe is the site, and you can check it out for yourself. So please don't take my word for it at all. But our strategy has beaten 99% of those fund managers out there. So if I had a brother, let's just take last year, 2016. If I had a brother that had $100,000 with me instead of with a normal mutual fund, $100,000, and I'm going to go ahead and write this out, 100K. Now the S&P last year was up about 9.5%, but let's call it 10%. So just for round numbers. So $100,000, the S&P made an additional 10K. Okay, pretty good. That was a good year. Now, CAM's QVP was up over 20%. Gross of fees. So that's what we're talking about, gross of fees. So now let's just say it's 20%. So we outperformed by actually 10%. So that would have been $20,000. So what that means is, at the end of 2016, if you had put in $100,000, here you'd have been with 110K. You guys can do the math. And with me, you'd be 120K. So I outperformed by $20,000. Now what I propose, and when we do performance-based pricing, we take a chunk of that $20,000. So this is what I propose. With performance-based pricing, we take 30% of this $20,000. So 30% of that $20,000 is $6K. And half of that goes to, I'm sorry, I actually misspoke. So we didn't outperform by $20,000, we only outperformed by 10. My fault. Okay, because you would have gotten 110 in just being in the S&P. But we added $10,000 worth of value. So not 6K, 3K. Sorry, my math was a little shaky there. Now, Cruise Asset Management we would normally take that $3,000 fee for ourselves because we added $10,000 worth of value, and the client would go home with a portfolio worth $117,000 versus the $110 he would have had. And usually the client's pretty happy with that because they made $7,000. Okay? So what we're proposing is we take half of that and we send it to the fraternity capital campaign, $1,500. Okay? You, as the investor, would still end up with $117,000. The capital campaign gets $1,500 sent to it. Cruise Asset Management keeps the other $1,500 as part of our fee, and it's a win-win-win situation. So you're up $7,000 above and beyond. You've outperformed 99% of all fund managers out there, and the capital campaign gets the money. So now we extended this out over 5 years, which is how long it's going to take this project to happen. Then this would be $7,500 that we could send to Phi Gamma Delta without you cutting a check at all. And in fact, not only that, you're up $7,000 here. If this happened for 5 years in a row, you would have had made an extra $35,000 on top of that, okay? That's money in your pocket that you wouldn't have had. That's a more safe and secure future that you wouldn't have otherwise had, okay? I certainly cannot guarantee that this would happen, but our QVP strategy has outperformed 9 out of 12 years and doubled the S&P during this particular time. So about the same ratios as we've seen. Now what I will tell you is, normally we don't outperform by about 10%. Normally it's closer to about 5. So if we were to look at these numbers in a much bigger grand scheme of things, let's say we were able to gather all the brothers up, and just for sake of argument, let's say we had $10 million into this campaign. And if we did $10 million and we were to outperform by about 5%, that's about $500,000 of value that we added to that 10 million. That's $500,000 to money going to our Fiji brothers for their retirement or for their future selves or for their family or for their kids' education or whatnot. That fee, a 30% fee, would be $150,000, and half of that, $75K, would end up going to the house capital campaign each year if we were able to put $10 million into this strategy, okay? I'm sure with our fraternity brothers out there, we can probably get there. So $75,000 times 5 over a 5-year period is about, what's that, 375K. We're trying to get to $1 million, and that's 375K. So it's a third of the way there. So we can actually make a pretty big impact on the numbers that we're shooting for, okay? So here we are. And as I'll remind you, if we don't outperform, let's say I don't hit this number, I don't get a performance fee at all. As a matter of fact, not only do I not get a performance fee, I owe you that money, more or less. I don't actually owe you the money, but I owe you that performance. And so I won't take a performance fee until I catch up to the underperformance, and I outperform after that, okay? So, and then in the 12 years I've been doing this has actually never been a problem on the quantitative QVP strategy. But I can't say that it won't happen this year or next year. There have been years of underperformance, but over the long term, it's been very consistent as far as outperforming. In any 3-year rolling period, it's outperformed 95% of the time. That's pretty good odds, okay? So this is what I propose, that perhaps if you had money set aside for retirement, you didn't feel comfortable cutting a check, you wanted to outperform, you wanted to do business with a fraternity brother of yours that has done well, verifiably done well over time, this might be a good way that we can get you to contribute to the capital campaign, and it's no risk to you actually. So what do I mean by that? Well, first off, we do all of our back office through Charles Schwab. So we have 100% transparency. You would go on to Schwab's website. You would see your money there at Charles Schwab. It's not held at the Cruise Asset Management vault by any stretch of the imagination. So there's no possibility of being, let's say, Bernie Madoff. You can go up to a Schwab branch and say, where's my money? No problem. You can also get a 90-day guarantee. So we don't charge forward for our services. We charge in arrears, and we charge quarterly in arrears. That means we will provide you services for 90 days or a quarter, and then we charge our fee. So at any time you're dissatisfied with the strategy, what we're doing, what we said was incorrect, it's making you nervous, you feel like you made a mistake, whatever it is, transfer out. And no fees, no account closing costs, no transfer costs, no cost of any kind. So there's no real risk to you of trying this and to see if this might work. Some things that you also get for working with us is we provide you with free financial planning. We are an investment house. We focus mostly on our investments here and now, but we will provide you with a free financial plan. People pay $500, $1,000 for these financial plans. We provide it to our clients for free, and as a client of ours, this is what you'd get as well. Additionally, we pay for all the trading costs. So in order for me to implement one of these strategies, it'll cost me several $100s to go ahead, out of my pocket, several $100s to implement the strategy. And if you decide to transfer out in 90 days, I'm out that money, and that's completely fine. Cost of doing business. But that's a promise I'm going to give you, that you have no costs and no risk for at least 90 days, and we can move this capital campaign along. So, in kind of a recap, this is what I propose. If you have money sitting around that is invested in a mutual fund, odds are we did better. And I believe there's a strong reason why we will continue to do better in the future. If you're interested in what those are and how the dynamics and mechanics work, I am happy to go into greater detail away from this video. And we actually have videos on our website about why this does work and why we believe it will continue to do so. So some of the benefits: you should have a bigger retirement nest egg. You can work with a fraternity brother of yours that you hopefully trust. Our numbers are independently verified. You won't have to write a check specifically to cut fees. You won't have to take money out of your charitable giving budget. You can just use my strategy as a vehicle to contribute to Phi Gamma Delta, and it's no risk. So that's what we're kind of proposing. If you have any questions, please email us. Check out our website at www.cruiseassetmanagement.com. Cruise is K-R-U-S-E, assetmanagement.com. We're happy to provide you with account opening information, which is done at Charles Schwab for the most part. And also, there are other brothers that have started this already. So I've spoken to some other brothers and trying to flush this out. And because of industry regulations, I can't actually tell you who they are. They are welcome to come forward, but I cannot reveal who they are. But there are brothers that are involved in this right now, today, that are setting up paperwork so that we can move forward with this process. So join us in moving some of this money, capital campaign money, along, and you could be part of raising the next generations of Fijis, because we all know Phi Gamma Delta and Fiji are not for college days alone. Thank you so much. Stuart Cruz.